Hello and welcome everyone to Women's Speakers Association's WSA-TV Premier Show. I'm Laura Rubenstein, your host and producer of the show, and today we have an incredible couple of ladies as well as a topic that I think you'll find very intriguing the way we approach it, and strategies and stories about finding and for finding joy. So first, I want to have each of our experts say hello. Hi, Yamini.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Why don't you tell us where you're from and what you're up to?
Yes, hi, I'm Yamini Redewill, and I am a self-love, self, I can't think of it, self-love matchmaker. How's that?
Awesome.
Okay, and this is my book, The Joy of Uber Driving, and um, a wild ride to self-love.
Beautiful.
And I live in San Rafael, Northern California in the Bay Area. And you can go to my website, yamini-naturalgoddess.com.
Great. Welcome, Yamini. And hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Suarez. I am here in Denver, Colorado, a little bit colder than San Rafael. I am a coach and a speaker and the best-selling author of The Art of Getting Everything. And you can find more about me on negotiationunleashed.com.
Wonderful. So today's topic's about finding joy and some strategies. And from each of your perspectives, I thought I'd ask you a little bit about that. So Yamini, I'd like for you to offer some inspiration to give to those who think that finding joy, comes if they find their divine life partner, or they have to get married or whatever and grow a family. But I know you have a lot to say on finding joy without those things. So
Yes, that's right. Well, I happen to be working in a city that is full of millennials, and they're on this preconceived timeline called having to be married by the time they're 30 or they're washed up. And so I just want to tell them that being single is not a curse. It's a gift. And it's a gift of time to give yourself in order to find out who you really are and live life fully. Because once you become married, you're going to be about them. And this is your time to be about you. And one of the things there are three things that I used in order to find self-love in my life. And self-love is the greatest love of all. So number one is integrity, being true to yourself. And when you're out of integrity, to just notice it and then forgive yourself and just let it go. And the second thing is forgiveness, forgiving yourself, forgiving your parents, forgiving anyone who has hurt you or betrayed you in the past, and do it until you don't feel any charge on it whatsoever. And then the third thing is gratitude. Gratitude for your life. You've created this life, and you should congratulate yourself on that. And it's, gratitude every day will really raise your vibration and bring you to that place of self-love. And then, of course, I meditate. I meditate maybe 15, 20 minutes a day, and that you just bring yourself into a stillness and let the answers come, or the information come that needs to come to you in that time. Just turn the chatterbox off.
wow. What a great foundation. I mean, like if you lived a life where you're doing those four things,
Mm,
you are setting that foundation, you're building that self-love, you're finding that joy. Would you agree?
yes. It took me a few years, and because I was a drama queen, it takes a little longer.
Excellent. So drama queens, there is hope for finding joy out there.
Yes.
Yamini is proof. Well, thank you for that. And thank you for the love you're spreading, because when you have more self-love, you have more love to spread, right? And
Exactly.
that spreads that joy, and that's invaluable.
Yes.
So
Thank
now I want to go over to Elizabeth. And Elizabeth, you are a negotiation expert, right? But you take this holistic approach.
Mhm.
And I was wondering what advice and strategies you have that can help people negotiate their path to joy.
And it's interesting because I'm glad that Yamini mentioned about the self-love and the integrity and the gratitude. And actually, those are three very key points that I include in the holistic approach of negotiation. Interesting enough, when people look at negotiation, they're always thinking about the deal, cutting that deal and making sure I get what I want. And what I say is like, if that's all you're thinking about, you're not going to get everything you want. So you really need to start with self first. And that's where I talk about the vision path statement. And in my book, I talk about 3 pillars, 3 pieces that we need to keep in mind when we want to do a holistic negotiation approach. And they are career, family, and interest. And what's interesting, when we're negotiating, normally what we're thinking about is, I want $10,000 more, or I want this job. That's all we're thinking about. We don't think about anything else. And if we maybe get 9,000 rather than 10,000, we're not happy. And all of a sudden it's a downward spiral. And what my approach calls for is like, what is it that you're looking at becoming in 2 years from a career perspective, from a professional perspective? And when you envision that, then what is it from a family perspective that you need to take into account? Because we all have families. Where do you fall in your family when it comes to that? And then finally, the most important one, and the one that most of us don't know how to answer, is, who are you based on interest? I know Yamini knows how to answer that as well as you, Laura, but normally my clients, they don't. They start saying, I'm the girlfriend or the wife or the mother. It's like, no, who are you as an individual? And basically who you are as an individual is what you use to recharge your batteries on a weekly basis. Yamini mentioned the meditating that she does. I am in Pilates. Before I got on this call, I was doing Pilates. So because I need that regrounding myself to ensure that I am fully present when I am going to be exchanging information with other people. And at the end of the day, it comes down to communication. Negotiation is to communicate something that you don't want, but you want, that you don't have, but you want, and the other person may have it. And they may not realize you want it, or if they realize you want it, they really didn't think about, oh, I should give it to her. So that's what it comes down. That's why I look at it from a holistic approach. You need to look at yourself as a human being as a whole.
I love that because, if you take the 2 of you together and you come from that foundation of recharge and self-love and integrity and forgiveness and gratitude, then you can do exactly what you were just saying, Elizabeth. Take what Yamini says and go and speak your truth. From your truth, not from an anxiety or, insecure. You're in a very loving space where that helps your communication be very clear.
And then one more thing about that is that all of a sudden, when you walk in with that truth of yourself and speaking your truth, you are now open to listen to the other individual. And the end result may be something you never thought about. And it turns out most of the time to be a better end result than what you thought it should have been.
Yes, you're very centered, and both of you exude that, and I think that's essential in finding joy, whether it is in negotiating what you want in life or just being accepting where you are and finding that joy and cultivating that joy like Yamini does. So I want to go back over to Yamini and ask you about who you love working with and what lights you up about what you do with them.
Well, I don't have clients per se. I have what are called passengers. And 3 years ago, when I turned 77, I became an Uber driver to supplement my income. And so that was 3 years ago. And it has been the wildest ride ever. Just these wonderful people that I meet and how I interact with them and how they interact with me. So I have a captured audience of 1 to 4 people every day, maybe 4 or 5 times a day. And we get into long conversations sometimes, and I really feel that I impact them just with my energy. I don't really have to say anything. But I do intuit. I'm really good at figuring out where they're coming from and tuning into them. And if they need me to say something, I will. If they need me to be silent and not be chatty patty, then I'm, silent and let them do their own process in the back seat. But oftentimes we get into really lively conversations, and it's very exciting. And of course, my book is full of these Uber stories, from my passengers. And that really coordinated with my own stories, through my life. So, yeah, it's just been a wonderful, wonderful experience.
That's great. Tell us a story about the passenger.
Yeah, okay. Yes, one happened actually last week. And these wonderful ladies, they were, I think, around 26 or 27 years old. And they were all, they had all each called an Uber driver with their own cell phone. But I turned up for all three of them. Well, I got to tell you, this never happens. I have never in my life, been called by three people at the same time. And anyway, they were very happy about this because they didn't want the evening to end just yet. And so they came into my car, of all things, and I told them about my book and about self-love, and they went, "Oh my God, this is all we've been talking about all night. We want to find out how we can love ourselves, because obviously we don't yet. And, so how is it that you are our Uber driver?" So it was, oh, well. And so I told some of my stories in my book, and then they were saying, "Oh my God," all the time. And finally, one of the girls asked me, if there is one word of advice you could give me in all your years of experience, what would that be? And I said, well, being true to yourself, I think, is probably the most important, and having integrity. And when you're out of integrity, just let it go. But before you let it go, forgive yourself. That is the most important thing. And they were so appreciative of that. They said, that's exactly what I needed to hear. Thank you. And then they told me about their timeline problem. And I told them, just enjoy your sovereignty while you have it.
That's huge. That is huge.
Right.
Because if you can get into the self-love in the moment and really enjoy where you're at, greater things will come your way.
Exactly.
And you'll be joyful all the way through, not just trying to get somewhere.
Right.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
Well, thanks for the inspiring driving you're doing for people. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And helping them finding joy even in their Uber rides, right?
And they all said that was the best Uber drive they've ever had.
That's awesome. See?
Oh, good.
We can spread the joy and the love everywhere we go. So
Right.
Elizabeth, I want to come over to you now and talk about what inspires you. Who do you work with? What lights you up about what you do with them? And maybe share a story as well.
Sure. So I actually work with millennial women, professional millennial women. And the reason why I work with them is because I am seeing them going through the same struggles I went through in corporate America when I was in corporate America in the late 80s and in the 90s. And basically what I've noticed, Laura, is that the needle really hasn't moved. I mean, the same predicaments and the same situations I was experiencing when I was working for Fortune 100 companies, I'm starting to see these women have the same experience. A lot of them get very focused on education. They get their masters. They have all the experience they need and everything. And then they find themselves, like Yamini mentioned, at 30, 31, 32, they may be already married. I'm not saying that they're not. I mean, personally, they may be married. They may even be a mother, but they just sit there and do what's next. I did all this, and my phone is not ringing. And I basically sit down with them and I say, what do you want your phone to ring for? Like, who do you want on the other side when the phone is ringing, or when the text is being sent, or however the direct message? And they stare at me and they say, I don't know. That's the issue. So what it is that they haven't forged a vision of where they want to go. They haven't self-loved themselves, of realizing, because so-and-so went to the same college I went to, and then they went and worked over here, and then they got transferred over here. I need to follow the same steps. So when they come to me, they realize, oh my God, my path doesn't have to be like everybody else's path. We all need to have our own customized path. And the path needs to be dynamic. That is the other thing that I found from this group of millennial wonderful women that I work with. They just say, well, I already have this path, so this is what it is. And I'm like, well, you're gaining more knowledge and more research as you continue in life. Does this mean you're going to be that static for the rest of your life? And it never dawned on them that they needed to revisit their vision. So when they work with me, the first thing they do is this vision path statement about 2 years out. What are they going to do? And then it gets revisited on a weekly and even monthly basis. And it's interesting. Normally when I work with them, I work with them for 3 to 6 months. It's interesting, Laura, to see at the end of the 6 month, how the vision path statement they started with, it's very different with the one that they're concluding. And then they keep in touch with me and they tell me the stories of how they've done it. Now, an interesting story that I would like to share with you is not about the millennial women. It's actually a millennial woman that heard about me and told her father, and he happens to be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, and he hired me. And I was shocked for me to coach him. And I even looked at him and I said, why are you calling me? Why are you hiring me? I target your daughter. And he says, because I have my daughter, women like my daughter, working for me, and I want them to come into the C-suites, and I do not know how to help them. Because the way of how I approach my career is not their way, and it shouldn't be their way. So the story I want to share is that, yes, I focus on millennial women, but it's also very important that we have our men to advocate for ourselves and to have our back, like the CEO of a Fortune 500 company.
Beautiful. And it's so heartwarming to hear men coming up and coming to the forefront to support women as well. You know, we're not in this world alone.
Exactly.
And that's why we're here. You're getting your message out. So a millennial who knows someone who wants to impact more of our up and coming leaders, you're getting directly to help. And Yamini, you're doing it by people who come into your car. It's just like so amazing. We're impacting the world as speakers through our heart and our passion. And one of the greatest things about Women Speakers Association is you get to be yourself. We highlight and feature and want to inspire and help you have a greater impact. So I'd like to ask each of you, what is the value of Women Speakers Association as you've experienced it or want to experience it? So Yamini, why don't you share?
Well, I think it's invaluable for me because I come in with a lot of fear, about speaking and about saying the wrong things or not remembering the words that I'm supposed to remember. And I think this is a great playground for that to happen, for me to overcome that fear and to be excellent in what, as a speaker.
Yeah, we certainly have lots of support. We have Facebook groups, we have trainings, we have this show, and we have the opportunity for you to grow as a speaker here. That's a huge value we offer. And Elizabeth, how about you? What is the value you're getting from Women Speakers Association?
The value comes down to one word: sisterhood. The fact of having other women like myself part of this group, that we are basically backing each other and we want each other to succeed. And it's not a competition. It's actually like, go to this Facebook page, get involved. I mean, I will introduce you to somebody. So that is what is so important, because in this world, like you mentioned, we're not here alone. We need to help each other.
Brilliant, beautiful. I thank you for the heart and the work and the joy you're bringing to the world through your work and through just your passion, being who you are everywhere you go. And I'm going to bring all of us on screen here so we can wave goodbye to everyone, and then invite you to watch other episodes of WSA TV's premiere show here on Facebook or on our website at WSA TV. And if you have a message that you want to make a greater impact and be a part of a sisterhood that can help grow your career, check us out at joinwsa.com. So thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Yamini. We will be back next time with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura. Bye,
Thank
Jimmy.
you.
Bye.